let's start simple. You want to start just by giving me your names?
Yeah, my name is Jeff Malone. I am 61 years old. I am a retired manufacturing salesman for 35 years of my career. But my next phase is I work at Chick-fil-A. And so I started there back in August 18 of this year. Or last year, actually. So coming up on almost a year at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm Cameron Johnson. I'm 31 years old. From Tulsa, Oklahoma. Living in Kansas City right now, working for a garage door manufacturing company, and church planting is a side hobby of mine that God's called me to. Not a hobby, but a pretty big task.
Purpose.
Yeah, and excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm Drake Goode. I also work at Chick-fil-A. Been there for, I think, 5 years now. And I love ministry. I love life. I love talking to people about things that matter. And I'm super excited to go into this with you guys. I know we got your age. How old are you? 31. I'm 29 for one more month. We got our occupations. So first thing I want to ask you guys about is, as far as your experience, today what we're going to talk about freedom from addiction. And so just so we can start off, what experience do you have with addiction? Just when, how long, what was it? If we can start there.
Sure.
Yeah. The biggest, I'd say, struggles with addiction that were constant throughout my life was drugs, specifically marijuana and alcohol, and also pornography. But I found freedom in all of them, and my addiction got a hold of me probably when I was 15 and really when I was 16. Like kind of dug its claws into me, and I've been sober from drugs and alcohol for almost 18 months. On Tuesday will be a year and a half. And pornography, it's still a little bit fresher, but it's been pretty awesome. Life has been challenging at times, but probably the best 18 months of my life. So yeah, it's awesome.
You said was alcohol and drugs both ended at the same time 18 months ago?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So one and done.
Yeah.
No turkey.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah, so my experience with addiction has been in alcohol. So I remember my first drink, actually, it was in a cemetery when I was 14 years old. And it was a Busch cold beer that I took a drink of, and I liked it.
You liked it the first time?
Oh yeah, I liked it. It tasted good, my brain was working perfect. It said, yep, I like that, let's do this again. So I started on that journey when I was 14, and it was not an addiction at that time. It was just something I liked doing. I didn't do it all the time. I played athletics, I was in sports, I played football, baseball, basketball, consumed a lot of my time. So my really addiction with alcohol came when I got in the corporate world after I got married. And I was a salesman, I traveled, I spent a lot of time with customers, and the thing back then was to have fun. And you take them out to lunch and dinner, play golf, and guess what was involved? Drinking alcohol. So as I got married, 2 girls, beautiful girls that I have. My wife's beautiful, she's amazing. But all the pressures of life started building, and I was the provider for the family, and I thought that's what I needed to do. That's what I did as a dad and a husband, was just to provide. That was it.
And you traveled a lot.
I traveled a lot. And so it really carried with me heavy. When I was probably about 28, I started drinking more and more until I was 48. And so for 20 years, I was into my drinking. And it just became more and more of my life. It became a behavior, like lifestyle. And so as it went, and then addiction, there's progressions. And so the more you're into it, the more it takes control of you and the more you need it. And so I was at that stage where it was no longer about I like it, it was more about I need it. And so when I was 48 years old, I came to the end of myself, and I knew I needed something different. And on 11/7/11 in my car, at work, in the parking lot, I gave my life to Jesus, surrendered to Him totally, and I've not taken a drink since. So I'm coming up on 13 years of sobriety. And it really wasn't about the alcohol. I was spiritually bankrupt. And that's what the problem was, not really the alcohol.
You said you needed it.
Yeah.
Right? So what did you need it for? What was it?
To get through things, life, the pressures. I thought that's the way I needed to relax and have fun. And you know, I was kind of the guy that was like the life of the party type guy. But when I go back and do evaluation of inventory of myself over those years, I was not the life of the party. I was the fool of the party. And it was affecting my marriage. My wife was leaving. She was gone. My girls didn't like me very much. And so it was not about, I was not the life of the party. I was actually the fool of the party.
You spent most of the time, you said, traveling, so most of that was while you were out, or was that also happening?
Oh, no. I was isolating at home. I was here. I was never the husband or dad that wasn't around. I was around, but you can isolate when you're home. And so I would go down to the basement, game on, start drinking. It wasn't all during the week, because there's no such thing to me as a functioning alcoholic. You know, you hear that word, no, you're a functioning alcoholic. No, you're an alcoholic. And there's nothing about functioning as an alcoholic. But I didn't drink heavy during the week, but once Friday hit, it was in, man. I would get, liters of vodka and go down to the basement. And, I only had 2 drinks, but they were that big. And so I'd go down and isolate. And I was here, but I wasn't present.
You feel like at that time in your life, do you feel like you had support? Like people around you trying to help you out of it, or?
Oh yeah. Well, here's the thing, Drake. I was in total denial, so I had no idea what was going on, but everyone around me did. So they knew exactly what was going on. They never abandoned me until 11/6/11. Remember my sobriety date was 11/7/11?
Yeah.
11/6/11. The next morning on the 7th, I woke up and my girls were gone and my wife was gone. There was no one in the house, and I knew I was in big trouble. And I knew that they were exiting. They were getting ready to abandon me. And that wasn't the reason I did it, because I had tried before to quit for my wife. And by the way, anybody in addiction who's trying to quit for someone else, it'll never work. Because then you get resentment, you get hatred, bitterness towards that person, and then you eventually blame it on them. And so I had done that. I quit drinking for 6 years at one point, but I did it for my wife. Didn't do it for me. And that was the difference on the 7th of November, 2011. As I told her, I said, I don't blame you one bit if you leave. You have every right to leave me. Matter of fact, I would leave me. But I'm not doing this for you, because I was challenged by my uncle. And he challenged me that morning on my way to work. And he said, Jeff, what's your relationship with God like? I said, well, Bill, you know I believe in God. I think Cam mentioned that. He said, and we were just talking a minute ago, I always believed in God, right? And he goes, well, that's not what I asked you. He says, what's your relationship with God like? I said, I don't have one. After I thought a minute. He goes, that's your answer. You need to submit your life to Christ, totally submission. Give it up. Give your life up to Him. Let Him take control of it, not you. You need to get in a good Bible teaching church. You need to get some godly men around you. And you need to go to a meeting tonight. Not next week, not the month later, tonight. And guess what? For the first time in my life, I followed instruction. And I listened to Him. Submitted my life to Christ in my car that morning. Went to an AA meeting that night. Called a friend up that I knew was a godly man. We had on Tuesday, on the 8th, we got breakfast together. He said, I'll walk with you through this. And then I went to a meeting that night. I came home and told my wife, I said, here's what my plan is. Because you gotta have a plan, right? right, Cam? You got to make a plan. If you don't make a plan in your life, not just addiction, you're going to be like scriptures tell us, we're like a vessel in the water just floating around, right? You got no direction. And I had no direction. I just told her, I said, I'm not going to be that man anymore, whether you're here or not. I'm no longer going to be that guy. And that was the difference, and that was the biggest change in my life. The trajectory you were talking about earlier when we were chatting, my trajectory changed in that moment. And that was 13 years ago.